All right. Good morning and welcome to the Sports Debate Podcast. I'm here along with Jack Hirsch, James J. Train Martin. I'm BA. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. And we're 1 week away from the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 60, where we have the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots playing. So just on that caveat, just mentioning it. Just no big deal game. It's just a Super Bowl. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing good out there. Going to get right to our debate questions. First of all, it has something to do with football. Bill Belichick did not receive enough votes to get in the Hall of Fame first ballot. And I put ballet. I love it. Was he snubbed? Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, he was snubbed, but not for the reasons people think he was. You can make an argument for anything or against anything. Bill Belichick was on a five-person ballot. The voters were allowed to vote for three. There were three players on there. There was Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick. Now, if the voter did not vote for either Kraft or Belichick, they voted for the three players, then he wasn't snubbed. Bill Belichick is the first one who says you win because of players. Players are the most important thing. You have Kenny Anderson, Roger Craig, L.C. Greenwood, terrific players on there. And if someone had a philosophy like the writer from the Kansas City Star, they just want to vote for the players first and foremost, then he wasn't snubbed. Now, if someone voted for Robert Kraft and not Bill Belichick, then he was snubbed. Then he was snubbed in that instance. Or if they had non-players on the ballot besides Belichick who got in, then he was snubbed. Absolutely. Then it's ridiculous. I mean, I'd be exasperated, but I can understand the argument if someone just wants to vote for the players, especially the players who've been on the ballot a while. That's perfectly understandable. Was Bill Belichick more important than any of those players? Yeah, a coach technically in virtually every instance is more important, a great coach, than any single player, unless that single player is iconic. Check out Brady and Belichick. If you had a choice, one or the other, anyone would take Tom Brady over Bill Belichick. Anyone would take Peyton Manning over a single coach. Anyone would take Josh Allen over any coach they could have in the NFL. We all know that. But the way it was set up, he wasn't snubbed. And that's what people don't realize. They just see things on the surface. How can you leave Bill Belichick out of the Hall of Fame? That's ridiculous. It makes no sense. And they're correct. It doesn't make any sense on the surface. But look how the voting took place. Why didn't they question the voting beforehand? And if it wasn't unfair to Bill Belichick, imagine if you're one of those great players. Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft gets in. And out of the remaining three, two are left out and they can't get in the Hall of Fame. And they're thinking, well, I played the game. How do you compare this? I mean, you're comparing the greatest dessert to a regular entree. You can't make that exact comparison. And no, the way things were set up, Bill Belichick wasn't snubbed. Under normal conditions, it's ridiculous he didn't get in on the first ballot, but they set up the voting categories the wrong way, and based on that, no, Bill Belichick didn't get snubbed.
Go ahead, James.
I don't know if I want to go ahead, man. Jack just laid it out so eloquently and just gave out a real good explanation as to why Bill Belichick didn't get snubbed. But I mean, I'm going to say, yes, I agree with you on the fact that if you have a specific criteria, then yes, of course, he didn't get snubbed. But we're talking about a guy that won 6 Super Bowls. I mean, mind you, it's a team effort. It's a team effort with a quarterback that was otherworldly as well. But I mean, great defense as well. But within 20 years, 20 seasons, man, 6 Super Bowls. There's no other coach that compares to that. You make an exception regardless of your criteria. Now, mind you, when I heard it explained to me about how guys look at criteria, how they're gonna always look at the players first. They're gonna have the coach, the owner secondary, as these. I forgot what they call it specifically, but it kind of reminds me of when I was in the Army. We would take like for guys to get LASIK. LASIK was a thing in the Army. For those you don't know out there, we would take soldiers out to go get free LASIK. You get it for free as long as you had a year and a half left on your contract. You can get LASIK, but you had to be the frontline soldiers to get it first and foremost, and then support would be like, let's say we do 80-20 of people that will get it. 80% frontline, 20% support. And so you be the other guys who fall in support. So you would wait a lot longer if you were the support. Let's just put it in that way. So that kind of reminds me of this here when you're looking at the players of the front line. And so you're going to prioritize them into getting to the Hall of Fame versus the support, meaning the coaching or the ownership or any other specific ancillary position that might be able to get in. But Bill Belichick specifically, you make a different criteria. You look at it differently because it's just astronomical what was able to do during a time when he was in with one specific team. Let's not even talk about when he's with Cleveland. He was able to get a playoff win with them, one, but to go into New England and they weren't great at the time. I mean, they came off a Super Bowl appearance in '96 with Bill Parcells, but they weren't that good in between that time. I mean, and a whole new era started with him. I think he's been snubbed. I think it partially is because of this Spygate and the Deflategate, which is not on him. Obviously, that's on Tom Brady. And that's a whole nother can of worms about whether or not he'll be first ballot. There's some reporters and writers out there that think if you're going to do this guy like this, then I'd be interested to see how you're going to do Tom Brady. You know, there's no way you should like look at one without the other because they both were great for their organization during their time together, whether they like each other or not. They were both very instrumental in their success in winning those championships. But with that said, man, 6 championships is just hard to argue. It just to not be first ballot, it's a snub. And I also
9 Super Bowls, 8 championships. Let me correct you. 2 is the defense.
Yeah, 2 exactly. 2 with the Giants as well.
Super Bowls.
You just really can't. You can't sneeze at. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at all. It's just like it should be obvious that he should be first ballot, regardless of the situation. Regardless of and players would tell you that they probably would want him to get in first ballot. Even the guys that are probably waiting because of how great that resume is. You just can't deny that. So I would just say that there's just obviously, and him, the last thing, and I'll say this, is that him in the media, how he treated the media is probably one of the things that's begrudging. But I just think that the human element of voting is where you have to set specific ground rules, man, and do some investigation You can't hold somebody back because you didn't have a good relationship with that person. That's just almost as childish, and it's unfair to what it's cheating the game. Forget Bill Belichick. It's cheating us. It's cheating us as fans, people who want to see the thing, the fans of New England. It's cheating the organization. You really should allow this guy to be first ballot Hall of Famer, but it's not going to happen now because it's been cheated. There's no way you can get that back, and the game has been cheated. I'm just going to say that, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, I can make an argument, and a very good argument, a fair argument, that the owner, Robert Kraft, should go in ahead of Bill Belichick if it was one or the other. And you could just look at the winning aspect. Shortly before he hired Belichick as the coach, he went to a Super Bowl with another coach, Bill Parcells. A couple of years after he moved on from Belichick, guess what? He's back in the Super Bowl. That's Robert Kraft. That is Robert Kraft. Keep that in mind. He didn't want to get rid of Tom Brady when he did. And he was finally forced to because Belichick told him that Brady's basically gassed out. And then Robert Kraft says, as soon as I get rid of him, he wins a Super Bowl. He was really ticked off at Bill Belichick. That showed how washed up Brady was winning the Super Bowl. And also keep in mind that Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. He refused to play Malcolm Butler, and the secondary got lit up. That's on Belichick. He may have cost the Patriots a Super Bowl there. Keep that in mind. And let's be honest about it. If you look at his head coaching seasons outside of the 2 decades of dominance with the Patriots, where he was incredible, Belichick, he's performed very poorly, very poorly. But listen, Belichick obviously should have been a slam dunk Hall of Famer, as a coach. I mean, because then if he's not a Hall of Fame as a coach, then no one's a Hall of Fame as a coach. But let me throw this by you, James. You mentioned Tom Brady. Let's say hypothetically the Hall of Fame was just starting now. It's a pretty new thing. And it was a 5-person committee. Vince Lombardi, George Halas are on there, Jerry Rice, Tom Brady, whoever else is iconic. There's a chance Brady would be left out. You can't put him in ahead of Vince. It's hard to put him in ahead of Vince Lombardi. It's hard to put him in ahead of George Halas. But all people would see on the surface was, oh, how can you leave Tom Brady off? I mean, it was the category, unfortunately. If there was the non-player category, yeah, Belichick had to go in immediately. But what about Robert Kraft here? If he gets in, it's going to look bad. If he gets in this year, then Belichick absolutely should have gone in with him. Then it's a travesty. But if Kraft doesn't get in and they're going strictly with players, at least it's understandable.
Yeah, I'd say that the human aspect has come out in this vote. Media is too much in their feelings. They need to stop that kind of stuff. Stop being all in your feelings because Bill Belichick, he was an ass as a media type for a while, but that doesn't have any merit that goes toward what he accomplished. He has some divots on his record, but 9 Super Bowls, 8 Super Bowls, 9 Super Bowls, whatever it is, you can't not. No, I don't like Bill Belichick. Okay, I think he's the coach that was the Cleveland Browns head coach. He just benefited a little bit from the fact that he's a really good defensive coordinator, and he got New England for the first 2 years of Brady, and then Brady was the guy that took off from that point. But at the same time, you still can't take that away from him. Stats are stats. And that's a feeling. That's my opinion. But that shouldn't count for what he actually has done. You know what I'm saying? And that's what these reporters are doing. They're all putting their feelings into it. Shouldn't be that way. It should be about what he accomplished. Period. So I think he got snubbed, and I don't like the media for that whole situation. They should have some reason, different way how to vote these Hall of Famers in there, or get some kind of mix instead of just having sports writers do it, because it's ridiculous.
Well, the big issue, Brian, should they be forced to go public with their vote. Because
Yes.
umpires, officials in sports, we know who they are. They're out there. Boxing judges are out there. Hall of Fame votes are kept secret, maybe because it's the society we live in, social media, people getting threatened, this and that. But if you want to be part of the process, that's, and you volunteer for it, that's something that has to be dealt with. You have to explain your vote.
I agree. They should be held accountable for their vote. Well, that particular Hall of Fame cast should be. They're sports writers. And I can guarantee you, besides being in a locker room, that's about the only football knowledge that they know. They don't really have any playing, coaching, or anything like that in their resume. So they're just going by what they see and what they hear. And that's not fair, really, to the Hall of Fame inductees, because you should have at least a couple of even Hall of Fame players that are in the Hall of Fame that could be on that board and say, well, this guy did this and this guy did this. You need to look at this instead of, just having a whole board of media types, because they don't. I mean, this is an area where you need to know the game, okay? Not just what's in the locker room. No, not just what's at the podium. Not what you see on TV. You got to be actually a person that knows the insides and outs of the game as a player or a coach. And I think that helps a little bit if you have a couple of Hall of Fame players that are on that panel. I think that would work. And I think you're right. Everybody should not be. There should be no anomalies as far as the sports writers hiding their votes. No, you need to step out and let us know why you voted and the way you voted, so that, because a lot of these sports writers could get put out for that. You know what I'm saying? They could, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe they'll lose their jobs.
Wait. What about Robert Kraft waiting all these years? He's 84 years old now.
That's a crime too.
Waiting. We're getting all hopped up about Belichick. I mean, Kraft should be in by now. We should be a little more outraged about him maybe than Belichick.
I disagree with that because right now the subject matter is Bill Belichick not getting in. I mean, he was the first one to show up. Bob Kraft, we should have been talking about him not getting in. And I think there have been some communications in regards to, him not being brought in. I mean, you look at his situation versus someone like what's the Jerry Jones that's in, and you can look at but I get it. Jerry Jones, his success came before Bob Kraft. And so I could say, if we're going by the criteria as to how they're voted in, I can see why Jerry Jones has gotten in. But now the argument is that, like, you look at what Bob Kraft has done as well, he probably should have been in a little bit sooner as well because of the amount of success within a short span of time. So, but yeah, either way, I'm going to say if Bob Kraft gets in, we're going to have some problems regarding this guy not being in, because maybe they could have walked in together, but the coach is the one. I mean,
it'll be bad. It'll be bad. And you know what these voters don't realize? The ones that were petty about it, they wanted to use Spygate, this and that. They take away some of the glory of the people getting in. All the Hall of Famers getting in. What's the talk going to be? Belichick. The same thing, as stupid as Major League Baseball was keeping Pete Rose out. Who did they hurt? They were punishing the new inductees as much as they were Pete Rose. Because Johnny Bench said it best. He said, when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, the first thing the reporter said to me was, congratulations, John. The next thing, do you think Pete Rose belongs in the Hall of Fame? They don't need to hear that about someone else. And that's what these new inductees are going to hear this year. It's going to be all about Bill Belichick there, and it's going to take away from their big day.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's just ridiculous how the media does that. It's able to saturate the field and oh, well, we can do this and we can do that because we're the media and we don't have to tell anybody about our. I hate that. I've always hated the media doing that, but it is what it is. All right, So baseball is coming up. Baseball season is coming up. Yeah, I know it's only January, but we have a few more months until they start doing all kinds of stuff for baseball. So we got some baseball debates that we can do. First of all, this one came up here. Derek Jeter recently said that hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports. Do you agree? Now I'm going to go back to Jack on this one because he's our baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I like Derek Jeter a lot, obviously, being a Yankee fan. And he's a sincere individual, but the remark is self-serving. We've heard that line before. Oh, well, hitting a baseball is the hardest single thing to do in sports. Obviously, it's very hard to do. I mean, it's very hard to do. And I'm not taking it lightly by any measures, at all. You take a player like Novak Djokovic, if he's hitting the ball 120 miles down the line with spin, and I put a tennis racket in your hand, and I'm training you for 2 years to return a serve. It's going to take you about 1 year just to locate where the ball is visually, let alone hit it back. I mean, best case, I can point out why the answer no, it absolutely is not the hardest thing to do, and it is incredibly hard, don't get me wrong, is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan loved baseball, he loved golf. Michael Jordan would have been the next Tiger Woods if he could have. Sometimes I think if Michael Jordan had a choice to be the greatest golfer of all time or the greatest NBA player, he'd pick golf. All his time was spent on the links. There's nothing he loved more than playing golf. Yet Michael Jordan couldn't master the darn game. Yet when he returned and played minor league baseball, he was actually making contact. I remember him going against an elite relief pitcher, Jeff Reardon, and Tony Kubek saying, oh, no, this experiment's no good. But meanwhile, Jordan flies out to the outfield. He makes contact. I mean, listen, I played baseball up to about the age of 17, and it was a pretty competitive league, okay? Obviously, I wasn't anywhere close to being a Major League Baseball player, but had I continued on, for every 100 pitches from a Major League Baseball player, I would have hit one of them. I would have made contact, hit a ground ball for every 100 pitches, let's say, okay?
That's pretty bad, though, Jack.
Because I played my whole life. I mean, I'm being conservative. But you put a tennis racket in my hand and train me over and over, I'm never going to be able to return the ball, over the net. I mean, I'll have a hard enough time just making contact on the racket. I mean, hardest thing to do in sports. I mean, run them. Try to keep up with elite marathon runners, elite track and field guys. Listen, I mean, it's hard to get. Look at these sideline catches these receivers make in the NFL. I mean, you could work with me my whole life from when I was 2 years old. I'd never be able to do that for the life of me, make some of these ridiculous catches and keep my feet in bounds. You're going to tell me hitting a baseball is harder than that? Hitting a baseball is tremendously hard. I'm not taking it lightly, but let's forget this cliche we hear. Oh, it's the hardest thing to do in sports, hitting a baseball, because it's not.
I tried my best to argue against what Derek Jeter was saying because I'm like, I think he's just being biased because it's his sport. And look, I mean, he has some valid points, and I will argue the points. I would say it's a small baseball that you're trying to hit. Someone is standing on the mound 90 feet away? 90 feet away, and they're throwing.
60 feet, 6 inches.
Okay. Well,
short amount of time, yeah.
Yes. 95 plus miles an hour ball is coming towards you, and you're taking a cylindrical object to try to hit that in a matter where you have to make decisions in a pretty much, the time it blinks, that's what I found the stats for that. The time it takes to blink is 0.4 a second, 1/10 to 0.4 a second to try to compartmentalize if the ball is good enough to hit. Like I was reading, listening to Barry Bonds talk about that when he was talking about if it's he has to try to outwit the person that's throwing to him to be able to throw to where he can hit the ball. Uh, it's a very difficult thing to do. It's very at that level. It's a very difficult thing to do. And I compare that. Okay, so let's say a pitcher's throwing you the ball. What if a guy's, when I'm looking at football, like a quarterback, because he was arguing with Patrick Mahomes about it. Patrick Mahomes can throw some lasers too, as well, on the football field. Guys aren't. It's hard to catch a different. You're catching with your hands out there, and those guys are making maybe like some of these guys are making 100 yards. 100 receptions a year or a season, and getting hit. Don't get me wrong. You're going across the middle, getting hit. That makes it a little bit more difficult. But baseball, in that regard of where you're at in the confines of trying to hit something that small, that fast, is extremely difficult. But with that said, and even so, I'm going to say this: how many 3,000 to do it consistently over the course of your career? How many 3,000 hitters are out there in the league total? As long as baseball's been around, there's only 33. There's only 33 3,000 hitters, and so
300.
Is it? No, 300, 3,000 hitters.
Hits. You're talking about 3,000 hits? What are you talking about? Career batting average or hits for?
No, the 3,000 hit club. There's only 33. There's only because to me, those are the guys that set the precedence of being able to, what we're talking about, of being able to do it consistently. So if you have guys around there that are like Barry Bonds, he had 2,935, so he just missed it by about 65 hits. And so, but my point is, with all the players that have played in the game, you don't have many that have done it on a consistent level. So to me, that tells me it's very hard to do. It's very to be elite. Those are guys that are elite. You have, if we're talking about the average guys that can hit and maybe get 1,500 hits through the course of their career, it's so many variables here because we're talking about how long you play and everything else versus how much you miss, how often you miss struck out. It's just a lot to really look into that. But I'm just gonna say, if I had to argue the point for Derek Jeter, I'm just gonna say it's one of the hardest things to do in sports. I can't say specifically that it was the hardest because we were talking when I just mentioned to you about how many players were 3,000 hits club, which is 33. I also try to compare that to the guys who are running backs in the league who are elite and how many guys hit 2,000 yards and how hard that is. Only nine guys have done that in the history of the league. So, you can look at and say how different, because somebody like Adrian Peterson had no quarterback play. Somebody like O.J. Simpson had no quarterback play. You had 8 guys in the box, and O.J. Simpson in 14 games still had 143 yards a game. And so he was the first guy to hit 2,000 yards.
Let me ask you this. Let's take two great sport athletes. That was a tongue twist in a way. Bo Jackson and John Elway. Bo Jackson was a great football player, great baseball player. John Elway would have probably been a great baseball player. The Yankees were giving him the biggest bonus. They badly wanted him to be their right field. And I think he would have had a great career in baseball, John Elway. Take both those guys who are incredible athletes, incredible. And then while you're at it, get the guys who've won the decathlon too in the Olympics and give them golf clubs. Work them relentlessly and try to make them into world-class golfers and to compete with the greatest golfers in the world. And they wouldn't get there. And I think that's your answer. You could say, well, with the golf for this and that, but you take certain other athletes and you reverse it. I'm not saying they'd be good baseball players, but they would at least be able to hit the baseball and be maybe very mediocre. Maybe they'd hit under 100 batting average for the year, but they'd make contact some of the time. That's what I'm trying to say. they would be a little more representative hitting a baseball than another athlete was in their sport.
I could argue against that. I mean, Tony Romo was probably one of the better golfers out there. And if he was not playing football, he'd probably be, at the time in his prime, probably be playing professional golf. Just one. I mean, there are a lot of athletes out there that play really good golf. So it's just, I think it's probably harder to me if someone, I mean, because and one, you're playing against yourself. I mean, the ball is just sitting there. No one's throwing it at you. And you got to figure out which direction it's supposed to go and how far you're hitting it. But you got a guy throwing the ball at you, like Roger Clemens. I know we're going to get into him a little bit later, but I mean, wow, come on, man. I mean, not again. Like, what's the kid's name? That Screen, the kid from Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah, Screen. Yeah.
Oh, Screen, pitcher. Yeah.
Screen. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. I mean, unloading 100-mile-an-hour ball. That's hard, man. It's hard to. I mean, and you got professional.
I'm not saying being a successful baseball player. I'm not saying that at all. I get it. I'm just talking about hitting the darn baseball. I mean, even in making contact, hitting a grounder, a weak pop-up. I mean, it's not. But, we could debate it all day. But I think it's a cliche that started a while ago. And people pick up on cliches. They picked up on it right or wrong on Tom Brady. He's called the GOAT. And then it gains momentum. Mariano Rivera. It picks up a cliche. Greatest closer ever. And people start going with it.
I would say this. The question says, do you agree that what he said? I say no. I do not agree. Yes. You two said it right. It's very hard to hit a baseball. I played Little League Baseball for a little while too. It's hard to hit a baseball. It is. But it's hard to do a lot of things in different sports too. And I think that you hit it right on the head about Derek Jeter being in his sport and just saying, well, this is what I think because this is a sport that he plays. He hasn't played football. He hasn't played basketball. He hasn't played hockey. Really, if you think about it, hockey is a very intense sport too. It's hard to skate and shoot a puck and do all that stuff at the same time. It's and I understand the baseball aspect of it because you're not just you're saying about 95 miles, but what about off-speed pitches, sliders, curves? Those are things that you have to learn how to hit as a baseball player. But if you're doing that for your, if that's something that you were groomed to do your whole life, it's not. It's the aspect of it is not hard. It's just the contact and it's getting your mindset to what you're seeing. A lot of professional baseball players aren't really that great. You have your mediocre ones and then you have your great ones. And your great ones are the ones that can figure out the pitch before it's coming out the hand just by what the pitcher's doing. So it's just like with football and the toe tap thing. It's hard to do that stuff. It is. It's just hard to do that stuff. And making it harder than hitting the baseball harder, it depends what sports you're in. I don't think that Derek Jeter could make a toe tap. I mean, he could get lucky and do that maybe at first, but I don't say that unless he has a lot of practice at playing that sport, then he can't say that's the hardest thing to do. I just can't. It's not. Depending on people's sport, it's just not to me. I think that, he's from Michigan, so, Michigan people tend to be over exaggerated sometimes, but anyway, I don't agree with that at all. So I'm just putting that one to bed. Anyway, speaking of baseball and Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, we're leading into that. Neither is in the Baseball Hall of Fame due to perceived PED issues. If you were allowed to put only one in, who would you deem more worthy based on their accomplishments, Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens? Go ahead, James. We'll get you on that one.
Well, that's when this question came up, I was like, wow, these are two. At the peak of their game, man, in the 90s, these guys were the best. And if you have to look back at the careers of most of the players in the 90s, these guys are The guys that are two guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame are most. If we omitted the allegations, if we omitted the issues with PEDs, they definitely would be in the Hall of Fame, first ballot, without a doubt. But if I had to take one of the two, I'm going to go with Barry Bonds. I mean, it's hard to not argue that. And I love both players, and I think it'd be like a splitting hairs here. We're talking. I mean, different positions, but I mean, what they did for their at their positions and for the game was just incredible. Barry Bonds, man, with 14 All-Star appearances, 8 Golden Gloves. I mean, let's start from 1998 back, when he was from 8 to 86, when he was with Pittsburgh, and when he was with this is before the allegations. Because again, for those of you out there that don't watch baseball, don't know baseball, he never tested positive for PEDs. He was on the Balco list, and so and that was pretty much it. But again, if we want to look at the difference between the big head Barry Bonds and the skinny Barry Bonds back in the day, my man had 400 home runs and 400 steals prior to that. Those numbers alone will get you in the Hall of Fame first ballot. And because there's no one right now with let's just say total, he's over 500 homers without a doubt. At 762 and had 500 steals. I mean, to end his career, man, it's just crazy those numbers. And one of the purest, the best hitters, man. And he was feared. He had 668 intentional walks. That's the most in Major League Baseball history. Am I correct, Jack?
Yeah, exactly. With the walk. Yeah.
Yes. And so that part alone, too, his WAR in 90 before 99, he was his highest was 10.5. And so I know the media didn't like him. We talked about Bill Belichick and his interactions with the media. The media didn't like this guy as well. That's probably part of it, because I mean, like with Pete Rose, I mean, if they feel like somebody's cheating the game, they still can have opportunities to forgive a person. Why wasn't Barry Bonds, given that opportunity to be forgiven and get into the league? I mean, and again, we're talking about something that he was on a list. He didn't admit to it because he never tested positive. So for me, I'm going with Barry Bonds. I'm not going to stick too long on this. I'm going with Barry Bonds.
Wait. He said Barry Bonds. He never knowingly took anything. It's obvious. Come on.
No, I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying he didn't.
I'm all for forgiveness. I'm 100% for forgiveness. But when a guy is rude and surly all the time, at what point do you forgive him? Do you forgive him the moment you're supposed to cast your ballot? Then he'll say, "Oh, forgive me," right before you're about to write down your ballot.
So you don't think Pete Rose should have got in before he passed?
That's a whole different thing. Pete Rose.
How? He had all kinds of stuff going on outside of baseball. I mean, there's allegations about with come on, man. It's not different.
It's a whole different situation. Don't compare one to the other.
How? He didn't something that you weren't supposed to do in baseball, and he denied it categorically.
He's a pathological liar. If you want to have a club of miserable people, you could put Pete Rose in ahead of Barry Bonds.
I'm just saying, you saying it's different. It's not different if they're still doing. I mean, it's different in allegations of what it is, but I mean, they're still denying something that won't allow you to. I mean, that you're not supposed to do in sports. I mean, regardless.
Pete Rose ultimately admitted that he had bet on baseball, and it didn't make any difference. He stopped denying it. Okay. And that's a whole different situation with Bonds. I mean, and the question is, if you could only put one in, who would you put in? Him, Roger Clemens, based on what they're contributing on the field. Okay, I mean, you're taking it to a whole different thing. You're saying put him in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I would vote for him in the Hall to go in the Hall of Fame. Bonds to go in. You don't have to. I'm not arguing. Oh well, because he was on the stuff, this and that. But does anyone in their right mind believe he wasn't? I
I
mean,
didn't say that. I didn't say that. I mentioned the big head versus small head Bonds. I mean, I'm saying
I have no evidence. Listen, I have no evidence he was on it, but I would vote for him to go in the Hall of Fame, because personally, I don't give a darn because Bud Selig oversaw the steroid era, the commissioner, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So to me, that's already, you can start welcoming all the players in. I'm not caught up in that
it's
because
a bit
that's,
hypocritical. Yes, of course.
okay, I'm looking at it another way, okay? This is for my team. You're not really you don't have a team. You're not really a baseball fan per se as far as having a team. Brian's a Tiger fan. I'm a Yankee fan. I like to look at it if they're 22 years old and we could have them for their whole career. Who would I want, Bonds or Clemens? And I would want Clemens would be my guy because he would be a more valuable player to have. Now you could argue who would you rather have, an everyday player or pitcher? A pitcher impacts the game more. Plus, teams can get around Bonds by intentionally walking him, minimize the amount of damage he causes. We saw that in the World Series. The Blue Jays intentionally walked Ohtani like 4 times in a row. You can't get around a great pitcher like Clemens. You just can't. 7 Cy Young awards. That's filthy, outrageous with different teams, with the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Astros. I mean, that's off the charts what this guy has done. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, give me either guy. I get it. But looking at what Clemens did, his 7 Cy Young awards, I think a little harder to do than compile the great numbers that Bonds did. And Clemens compiled other great numbers as well, don't get me wrong. But 7 Cy Young awards? I mean, maybe the argument should be what's a great accomplishment? Clemens 7 Cy Young awards, or Tom Brady 7 Super Bowls. It's a different sport. But I would argue for Clemens 7 Cy Young awards. He did that individually. I mean, you get help always from teammates being on the field, batting, etc. But the Cy Young Award is a selfish award. It's very self-centered on the individual performance. Teammates don't really bail you out to get you that award. So my answer would be Clemens over Bonds.
Now, before you go, B, I will say what you mentioned about the intentional walks. Well, not being as good as probably as what Clemens did. I would say that some of those intentional walks were bases loaded. They willing to give up a run just to stop him from hitting.
I get no. My point is you can somehow minimize Bond's damage in one game, but if you're facing Clemens in that game, there's nowhere to hide. You got to face him. You got to hit against him. Bonds, you could walk every single time he gets to the plate. As distasteful as I find that, and I think there should be a rule against that. If you left it up to me, I would alter the rule that once a guy like him is, you could designate one. Brian, you listen to this. You're going to get a kick out of this too. You designate a franchise hitter for the game. And once you walk him, he automatically gets 2 bases every time out. 2 bases instead of 1. Instead of going to first, he goes to second every single time. Now are you going to be so quick to walk a guy like Bonds or Ohtani? I don't think so, because you're putting him in scoring position. Just a thought.
Well, I mean, if you got a guy in second and third and you walk him, I mean, because you got first base open, that's the reason why the intentional walk exists. But if you do it 2 thing, you automatically score, 1 person at least. So, I don't know.
We modify the rule. If it's second and third and there's a base empty, you allow the guy to get walked, I guess. I understand that. But if the bases are empty, he automatically goes to second base, as if it's a double, not a first base.
Now, I have a different way to perceive this matchup between Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. They both deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, period. You know, most of the guys that are in the Hall of Fame, I'm sure some kind of things have happened to them where they had PED issues. I don't want to hear all that. Most of these guys that are in there during that time have had those issues or have taken PEDs, allegedly. Still, I'm not going to, just because somebody says you did something doesn't mean you did it. For both cases, for Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds. But at the same time, Barry Bonds has faced Roger Clemens in his career 8 times. He has 0 hits and 2 strikeouts against Roger Clemens. So that's why I would put Roger Clemens ahead of Barry Bonds. I know it's only 8 hits, only 8 plate appearances that they had against each other. But sometimes when you find when I get into a dilemma where I have to put 2 guys in and they both equally deserve to be in a Hall of Fame, you got to look at some of those kind of things, how they faced each other. So it's minuscule, but it still serves a purpose. Because if Barry Bonds was in fact as dominant as Roger Clemens, then he would probably want to hit a home run off of him or made Roger Clemens walk him. Roger Clemens did not issue a walk, by the way, to Barry Bonds in 8 plate appearances. So, and Barry Bonds did hit the ball, obviously. Some of those times, but fly ball, ground ball, whatever the case may be, never got a hit off of him, and it got 2 strikeouts, no home runs. So I would go with Roger Clemens in that because he kind of dominated Barry Bonds in those 8 plate appearances. I know it's a tick for tack, but
it is.
It's just, hey, there's no other way to go.
I would vote for Bonds in the Hall of Fame. Snap of the finger. No ifs, buts about it. Clemens too. I don't know whether they took anything or not. I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying what the perception is. And that's the reason they're not in the Hall of Fame, because of that perception.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I would put both of them in too. But if you had to tie me down, I'd go by just what they did faced off against each other. That's just me. I know you're over here frowning, James, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, also, I know Jack mentioned 7 Cy Youngs. That's difficult. But Barry Bonds was a 7-time NL MVP as well. So it's pretty tough to do, man.
Yeah, and Roger Clemens is only 1 time. So that's pretty weird. But anyway. All right. So from the Major League Baseball to the NBA. So Thursday, Mark Aguirre got his number 24 jersey retired by the Dallas Mavericks. Should the Dallas Mavericks retired his jersey?
This is it was Mark Aguirre was crying during the whole ceremony, and of course his best friend and James's idol, Isaiah Thomas, was there patting him on the back, and Isaiah was saying if it wasn't for Mark Aguirre, the Pistons never would have won the NBA championships. Of course, Isaiah's making it about the Detroit Pistons while he's in Dallas. The ceremony's going on. That's what's wrong with sports here. Now, listen, Mark Aguirre, I don't know him. He might be a nice person, a very nice person. I have no idea. I'm not condemning him, I do know this. He forced his way out of Dallas. I mean, he forced his way out of Dallas because he wanted to join his buddy Isaiah on the Pistons. And we talked about this on the past show. We know Isaiah's fingerprints were over that deal in one way or the other. Whether if it wasn't directly, it was indirectly. How do you retire a guy's number who forces his way out of your organization? And he forced his way out by just arguing with everyone, being very oppositional to everyone when he was at Dallas. I mean, what are we going to do next? You know what James would back up next? The Eagles maybe retiring Terrell Owens' number. Why not? Why not? Terrell Owens is a real, look at his stats, James is going to say. James is going to point to the stat line as a reason why. You retire an iconic player's number who meant so much to the franchise. Dirk Nowitzki, you retire his number with the Mavs. Absolutely. He was Dallas all the way. And Isaiah, you absolutely retire with the Pistons. No ifs or buts about it because Isaiah was a Piston all the way. I support that. Mark Aguirre, 8 seasons with the Mavs. They didn't win an NBA championship. He was a malcontent for some of the time, certainly towards the end. I mean, if you want to give him a night in his honor for some crazy reason, do it. But I'd be against that. The guy forced his way out of Dallas. He forced his way out, and now you're giving him the ultimate honor of retiring his number? Makes no sense. And I'm not picking a market play. Look, even Shaq. He had his number retired by the Orlando Magic. He was there 4 years, and he signed as a free agent elsewhere. You know, and you're going to retire his number? I mean, what's the insanity? But at least Shaq was somewhat iconic as a member of the Magic. But Mark Aguirre, are you kidding me? Retiring his number? I don't get it. But that's what this world is. Next thing, he's going to get a big broadcasting position on ESPN, this and that. All the guys who rebel. I mean, Tyreek Hill, look for him to be on ESPN or something after the Dolphins retire his number.
So first of all, you put me in the box there in regards to T.O. getting his number jersey retired, and that's like the most asinine example you can give me, sir, in regards to. I mean, he played there one or 2 seasons. I mean, 1.5 seasons, if that. Look, I definitely would. I mean, as much of a fan of T.O. is, I'd be flabbergasted if I thought that the Eagles were retired. I mean, I think the sport would be just
What about the
trash.
49ers then retiring T.O.'s number? You might consider that.
Maybe, but a lot of his great numbers were there. So it's a possibility. You can't blame the guy for them not getting to. I mean, there's a collective effort. I mean, he did some great things in San Francisco. So, but with that said, Mark Aguirre, the best parts of his career were in Dallas. It wasn't in. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was a role player when he got to that latter part stages of his life and what they were able to do in Detroit. But he was a star. He was a star in Dallas, and so he put up big numbers. And he was the main focal point down there in that team. So I could see why they were retired a number. I mean, it is kind of odd. Maybe they're just paying homage to a guy. You know, we were talking about how people go through things at the time towards the end. People forgive each other, Jack. People get over things. I mean, because you want to look at the positives. I think the time that he spent there, I'm pretty sure the majority wasn't bad. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing this. I mean, and maybe they're trying to take the focal point of what happened with Luka. They want some great things to show up in Dallas right now. Maybe they're trying to say, okay, let's focus on some things from the past, a blast from the past, like Mark Aguirre, and because introduce some of the younger fans, because a lot of these young people don't really research or look in their history and see who these guys of yesteryear were, and obviously he was something there. He meant something to that organization. So I don't have a problem with this. I would have a problem like what you mentioned if it's something like a guy to play. Now I don't have a problem with the Shaq, the impact that he had on that team. Who were the Orlando Magic before Shaq got there? I mean, why not? Even if it is 4 years, you're telling me that you wouldn't retire Terrell Davis's jersey for the short time he played in Denver?
He wasn't a malcontent. He didn't cause trouble.
Shaq wasn't a malcontent.
What was not? He was there 4 years. Mark Aguirre forced his way out of Dallas.
Towards the end, Jack. Towards the end. I'm not again. And how long ago was that? How long ago was that? My point is, people move on. People say, maybe I want to forgive. Maybe I want something a part of our organization to be legacy. You always talking about legacy players and different things like this. You telling me that he wasn't a legacy player there at that team, regardless of what happened at the end. You're telling me that somebody like Saquon Barkley probably shouldn't have his jersey retired with the Giants or something like that. I mean, I don't know what, I mean, he probably could have had a lot more there if if the team was a lot better around him, but he was their best legacy player there in New York. So I'm not saying that if they didn't give him a retire his jersey, I wouldn't be mad at it. But the fact that they're retiring it as well and acknowledging what he was able to do there, I'm not mad at that either. Again, like you brought the thing about Shaq. I mean, come on, man. Shaq did well with that and brought them to heights that they'd never been. And
they went to a championship.
Of course, they went to a championship.
Let's hear from Brian.
Wow, just dismissed you, James.
Yeah, James is just going off the rails.
Yeah, I see the time. My apologies. Yes.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You had plenty of time, brother. You had plenty of time.
Yeah.
Mark Aguirre, yeah, maybe Dallas thought that was appropriate to retire his jersey. I kind of get why they did it. I mean, Dallas wasn't that great at that time anyway. He was a superstar because there was nobody else on that team that was that good. So, I mean, yeah. And really, malcontent players got switched. So, I think they both fit in the system. Adrian Dantley went to Dallas and became a superstar like he wanted to be, and Maguire was the chip that helped the Pistons get into the championship. Now, I know Isaiah Thomas and Mark Aguirre are good friends, but for Isaiah Thomas, that was the guy that put us over the top to get us a championship. Okay, how come his jersey's not retired here with Detroit? Thank you. Anyway. That just tells me everything right there. They are never going to retire that dude's jersey here in Detroit. It is not going to happen.
Who, Isaiah?
No, Mark Aguirre.
Mark Aguire's not, but Isaiah's supposed to be retired, right? I mean,
we know that because Isaiah is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Mark Aguirre is not in that category.
Oh, no, he won't get retired in Detroit.
He might be that for Dallas. At the time, Dallas was a struggling franchise to get good, because they weren't a good franchise. They just became a good franchise over the last 30 years maybe. So I mean, they were always a crap franchise. If you looked at schedules back in the 90s and the 80s, you say, oh, we got to play Dallas, that's a win, that kind of stuff. So it's Mark. I mean, I understand why Dallas did it. And they don't retire too many people's jerseys in Dallas either. Think about that. So, I mean, I can understand why they did it. I wouldn't have done it, but knowing the Dallas franchise, yes, I can understand why.
Luka's number, I can understand being retired someday for the simple reason Luka didn't want to leave. The fans and the organization, to an extent, got blindsided with the trade. And Luka loved Dallas there. So I would be okay with that. I don't have to look at the number of years Luka was there, his stats. We know what Luka's about. That's the naked eye test. But not Mark Aguirre, who forced his way out. One guy hated leaving Dallas. The other guy couldn't get out of there quick enough.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, Adrian Dantley and Mark Aguirre switching worked better for both of their careers. Well, at least Maguire got a championship ring, and Adrian Dantley became the superstar that he wanted to be in Dallas. So it worked out good for both players, I guess, in that effect. So one's malcontent was another one's gem, I guess. But anyway, on that note, we will be leaving you guys, and we'll see you next week on Saturday at 8:00. Join us tomorrow at 8:00. For the sports podcast, the Sunday sports podcast. Of course, it's an hour. Just remember that. And we'll see you then. Everybody have a great rest of your day.